Yeehaw, Grandpa! We gonna look at some 45s. Welcome to my mini museum and episode 1 of our country and western 45 RPM vinyl records. These are not part of the big pile of country and western 45s that I have mentioned previously. I probably have about 200 rounded out. That these come out of a box that I bought off of Craigslist from a guy who said that he had digitized his entire collection and had gone around to record shops selling off all the 45s that they would buy, and he had this box of probably around 250 45s that nobody wanted. So I offered him $40, I think, for all of them, and he took it. So I got a lot of obscure stuff from him. There were some in the last series, the estate sale series there at the end, that came out of this box. And all these ones here in this video did. So getting on with it, I've spent a minute here, and we haven't even got past the first one. So Oak Ridge Boys doing Elvira. Now, I love Elvira, and there's no connection to the song in Elvira per se, but yeah, this is kind of a fun song. It's not a horribly bad country song in my opinion. They say it hit number 5 or number 51. I'm not sure what the notations there are supposed to be read. In June of '81, and I was around. I remember this song being quite popular at the time. The B-side being A Woman Like You. Ooh, what, like Elvira? My heart's on fire. And this one's cool. It's got a nice little price tag there. Is that Woolworths or? Yeah, I think so. $1.44 for the Oak Ridge Boys again doing Bobby Sue. Bobby Sue. I can't sing that one for you. Now, I did have 2 copies of that one back to back here. This one you can see was written on it. Hit number 12 in February of '82. So this looks like this was pretty much a follow-up to Elvira in '81. I do think the songs were kind of similar. You see there's a slight difference in coloring there. Slight difference in font, so these didn't come off of the exact same press, but probably from the exact same time period. The only real difference I'm seeing on the B side here is that the second copy has a little bit brighter coloring than the first copy, but they're both in really good shape. The vinyl's great, so 2 copies of that one. Next up, we've got one of those, unfortunately, where we've got, it's not stacker wear, it's not label wear. If you get it in the light just right, you see there's no damage whatsoever. It's that glue bleeding through. And Dolly Parton, Jolene, 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 Jolene. And yeah, it looks terrible like that, but it really doesn't look that bad in person. My Tennessee Mountain Home being the B-side of that one. And yeah, it's beautiful. It looks like the day it was made. There's absolutely no damage or wear to it. It's just the glue that was used to apply that label has bled through. If you're familiar with the old Atari Activision games, they had a real huge problem with that too. You can buy a brand new Atari Activision game unopened from back in the day, open it up, and it's going to look horrible because the glue on the label bled through. And that's the case there with that one. All right, next up we got Barbara Mandrell. Who doesn't remember the Mandrell sisters and their show? If loving you's wrong, then I don't want to be right. And that's another one I recognize. I'm surprised it only hit 31 because I seem to know it pretty darn well. But I did grow up in a country and western friendly household, I assure you. I was the only rocker there. So yeah, I got exposed to a lot of country music. And May of '79, yeah, I do remember this song well. The B-side being a song called I Feel the Hurt Coming On. And so, moving on. Of course, most of these, I selected them because they were ones that I did recognize. Freddie Fender, Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. Kind of sounds like an Elvis song. Maybe it's just the way I was singing it there, but I could definitely envision Elvis singing a cover of Wasted Days and Wasted Nights, couldn't you? 1975, yeah. Hit number 8, according to somebody's data there. And I love my Ranchero Grande. I'm assuming that was a vehicle like the El Camino or somewhere along those. Ranchero Grande was probably a vehicle, I'm guessing. And Freddie liked his, apparently. And here's another one that I do know. Marty Robbins, El Paso City. West Texas town of El Paso. March of 76. So yeah, I was, kind of young. That's right around the time that, yeah. Anyways, B-side. I was going to say something, didn't want to. If you're wondering what that was about. B-side being a song called Among My Souvenirs. So, we might just have some fun with these country and western ones, even though I don't necessarily know a lot of them. Here's another Marty Robbins, which, I remember that last one, but I don't know this one. Return to Me from January of 78. And I guess that would have been the B-side, because this one's August of 76, and just going chronologically, you would assume that Among My Souvenirs would have been the A-side, being that it was 76, and this one being 78. But I don't know. I'm not real familiar with maybe with the country artists. They did the same thing like A&M liked to do with like Styx and Supertramp and some of the other artists, where they promoted an earlier album on the B-sides. So that would make this the A-side, being 78, and this the B-side being 76, if that were the case. But I think that's a reissue where they just doubled up hits. Even though it doesn't say it, for some reason I just got that feeling. Now this one says it hit number 1 in October 1959. Guy Mitchell, Heartaches by the Number. So actually the version of this song that I remember was probably somebody doing it later, because I don't remember it being such an older song. But Heartaches by the Number does ring a bell for me, but I probably know someone else's cover version of it. Yeah, this is a mono copy from 1959, but hey, it hit number 1 apparently on the country and western charts, and it sure is a nice looking copy. I don't believe this is an original copy. This is a reissued copy, because it's so clean, so neat. Singing the Blues being on the B-side. And I do like the blues, and I kind of like Johnny Cash. There's some country and western artists that have crossed the line that I have liked and enjoyed. Johnny Cash being one of them that I could, I had a high tolerance for. And when they were doing blues instead of the twangy stuff, and that's what I don't like about country. I don't like the twangy, nasally, the vocals. I can handle the music. I love the Eagles, for example. There's a lot of country theme stuff that I like. But when it starts getting all nasally and twangy, that's when they lose me. Next up, we got Conway Twitty doing It's Only Make Believe. And I didn't do a good job of singing that. I do know the song. I recognize it well. Heck, it hit number 1, 1958 even. So it's a much older song than I even realized. But I do know the song, It's Only Make Believe. I couldn't have told you Conway Twitty did it, but I am definitely familiar with who Conway Twitty is. And this is an interesting one too, because this is another one of those, clearly a reissue, because you've got the Impalas on the B-side doing Sorry, I Ran All the Way Home like a little piggy wiggy. It hit number 2 in 1959. So this is definitely one of those double A-side reissues, but 2 different artists. And those are always kind of neat to come across and have in the collection as well. Next up, we've got a man who I had a lot of respect for, actually, Roy Clark. I loved Hee Haw. Hee Haw was a funny show. I liked the jokes. I got a real good sense of humor, and it doesn't matter what kind of theme we're in, whether it's country and western, blue collar comedy tour. I like all those guys. They're all funny. Funny's funny. And you might be a redneck, yeah. But anyways, Yesterday when I was young, old Roy picking and a grinning. And the B-side there is a song called September Song. And, I think Roy was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think that was his hometown of choice. I seem to remember. But that's about all I know, other than he was picking and grinning on you. Hee-haw, you-haw. On a hee-haw. Now, John Anderson, that kind of rings a bell with me with some connection to the band Yes, but clearly the singer from the band Yes is not going to be singing a honky-tonk Saturday Night. So this has got to be a different John Anderson. In fact, I think the one I'm thinking of is Jon Anderson, and this is John Anderson. So no connection whatsoever there other than just in my twisted brain. But a honky-tonk Saturday Night from 1982 with the B-side just a swinging. So there you go. Wild and Blue album from John Anderson. All right, next up we've got another one with the glue issue, unfortunately. But it's another classic song, Floyd Cramer and San Antonio Rose. Now, I have no idea who originally did that, but I think that one goes way back, much earlier than rock and roll even. But I don't know. I just, for some reason, I think that it does. And the B-side being a song called Last Date. But you can see we got that old gluing issue going on there, and like I say, you get in the light, you can see there's no damage. That's not stacker wear. There's nothing scraped off of it, but it sure does look bad when you lay it down flat. Yeah, it's a crying shame that had to happen. So we're going to wrap this one up with an artist that I've been recently, well, not recently, but in the not too distant past, corrected that he was not a country and western artist. He's a pop lounge artist, but he was in this stack, so he's in this stack. Daddy, Don't You Walk So Fast by Wayne Newton. I do believe that was a country song, and I do believe I have some recollection of some country and western artists doing that song, 1972, but it just could be my old memories being fuzzy. But, oh, Wayne, you're going to wrap up this first country and western episode for us with Echo Valley 26809, like BR549. Later.